Hello and welcome to session 2 of our Godbound series, which is running through the third quarter of 2012. Last time we did character creation and we put our Godbound on the river where they had a little incident that we'll go over here in just a second. We're kind of dealing with the follow-up of that. We're doing a little retcon that Dan suggested, but we'll come back to what that looks like in a moment. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this session is part of the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar. The Gauntlet community is an online club, group, gaming organization that does a lot of games every month. And we also have a publishing side that does codecs and some other things. But our side is focused pretty much on playing the games, and that's what we do. You can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. As with all games on the Gauntlet, we use a variety of safety tools in layers. We did a CATS discussion last time to kind of set up the baseline for the game. We're also using an open door policy as well as the X card. And then our most detailed piece of safety architecture is our lines and veils document, which right now we have hard lines on dental horror, harm to children, homophobia, sexual assault, and then veils for eye injuries, harm to animals, suicide, torture, and then ask first for epidemics, mind control, PC betrayal, and for sexual content. So those are out there. I will have our players introduce themselves now so that we can get a sense of who they are and so we can check in with everyone. So I'm going to come over here to characters. I am going to start the first real session here in the furthest left-hand column here. Tyler, please tell us about Ransom.
Hi there, I'm Tyler. You have pronouns, and I am playing Ransom, Raptor of the Waves, who is a god of mariners, and he has the gifts of sea, of birds, and of theft. He is, and I'm kind of going to, my intent is to try and make him a slightly bit different than he was last time.
Okay.
I've decided to sort of I wasn't delighted with how timid he seemed. And he seemed awfully concerned about things like, oh, we might get in trouble and this kingdom might chase after us. And as I thought about it more and more, that doesn't seem the devil-may-care captain that I had envisioned. So now it's fuck authority.
Okay.
But there's going to be a bit more of that sort of swashbuckling look, I think, coming out of him. But he was born aboard ship and has lived his entire life in ships and on the sea. He is extremely interested in exploring and finding new places and going out to those sort of areas that few, if any, have ever gone, and seeing what can be found there. And I suppose that's him.
Excellent. Which brings us to our, let me check everything. Are you still good with your words and gifts that you chose?
Yeah, I think so. Theft is still niggling at me, but I'm okay with it.
Okay. And if you decide if that any of those gifts that like you want to swap them out for something else, just keep that in mind. That brings us to Tasos.
Hi, I'm Patrick, he, him, and I'm playing Tasos, who's they, them pronouns. And Tasos is a godbound of dreams, or an embodied nightmare, or just a strange creature moving through the world. They have the words of night, fear, and shapeshifting. And a lot of gifts that have to do with seeing people's dreams, seeing their fears, and embodying or projecting those fears to mess with people. it's something that sort of came over them slowly, starting at a young age, which meant that after they were orphaned at a very young age, they sort of passed through the foster system of this kingdom, going from family to family as things in the house just got creepier and scarier as time went on. When Tasos was there, dreams became more intense and visions and strange things would start to appear. He's got that mostly under control. There's minimal leakage of Nightmare Realm out into other people. It helps that they don't sleep anymore. But let's see. Was on the ship, being led sort of by dreams, seeing imagery that looked familiar and following it. And I know I was very possessive of the boy that we found after he complained about his boring young child, stupid, who even cares about them, fears and nightmares. And I took a look and they were like epic and world shaking and just so masterfully horrifying in a way that I must know more about. It's my own little thing. Ooh, you are muted.
Are you good with your words and gifts?
Yes.
Okay.
If we could have a couple more, that'd be great. But
soon
I'm good
enough.
with the ones that I have.
Okay. And then Sherry Threadless.
Yeah, my character is, my name is Sherry. I use she, her pronouns. I am playing Threadless, the loom builder. They use they, her. Definitely appearance is more female than anything else, but she was the last child born in a set of, in a village that was exiled after all of the fit and able-bodied men had been marched off, conscripted into the army of a king whose name Threadless doesn't even know or has bothered to listen to. She despises all kings because she's been taught to, and she believes in that absolutely. And so she was the last child born in that group of people who were exiled, of course, until the later generation grew a little bit older. But her words are artifice, bow, and fertility. She, her origin is she was the last child born, bearer of hopes and vengeance. She actually was treated when she was born as a person that her community treated with great ceremony and like invested power in the sense of a way that seemed significant to them, so that when she did take on these great gifts, they were not surprised. Not that they knew what they were doing, this just seemed only fair after all they had been through. And let's see here, I think mostly what you will know about her is that she's very good at making things and even better at breaking things, if that makes any sense at all. And let's see here. And I think when we left in the session last time, she was preparing to make something that would make it easier for us to find more children, since we had found that there were more of them like this boy, so that we would be able to recognize them and seek them out.
Excellent. And then that brings us to Professor Evedro.
Hello, my name is Dan. My pronouns are he, him. Yes, I'm playing Professor Evedro, who is the god of enlightenment. His words are sun and knowledge and journeying. He was a professor at a renowned university in our little archipelago, but was kicked out for his arrogance. And one of the ways that his words manifest is that as the sun rises and sets, his personality and his overall look changes. So at the height of the sun, he is his most arrogant, and at nighttime, He is much more humble and sociable and engaging. And I'm quite happy with my words. And I'm short one gift, but I will reserve that until the story continues.
Excellent. And don't forget, I know some of you don't have some facts filled in, but if they occur to you as we go along, you can add those in. Reminder, facts are both sort of a color and also will grant you a +4 bonus when attempting a skill check related to that particular effort. So last time we took up with the four of you on this small ship that Ransom has, sort of salvaged from the loss of a previous larger ship, but has a small crew on it, and you are transporting book bugs, I think, for want of a better word, that are down below decks, and you were heading south when you reached essentially the Strait of Lancena, where these great old stone pylon fixtures on either sides, which had not been used for years and years and years, had apparently been repaired and had these great sea chains to block passage. You assumed it was something like taxes, but then you saw them set a ship ablaze, and you moved in to rescue people. And then you broke the chains and sailed on through with some speed and made your escape away. When you were able to finally have a chance to talk to the people that you rescued, you found that the ship had been boarded, that a figure apparently a titled the Hesiarch of Lancena had come aboard, had some sort of device, and had clearly seen something odd about the children that were there. And there had been then a general killing and then setting a fire of the ship. And you were able to rescue the young boy and the woman who was his caretaker. And something, this is the sort of retcon that the boy would have said sort of after things. It would have said, "Now my sister is still alive. They took her. The Hesiarch took her with him." And so we take up with the group a ways out of striking distance from Lancena's naval forces. We'll assume that you've found a relatively covered space along the shoreline to stop and kind of figure out what you want to do next. They were originally headed down to Longstone, which is an island down southwards from Lancena, but there was some discussion about going back to Lancena and perhaps having a discussion with certain people in power. What you know about Lancena, it is a imperial force, or wants to be an imperial force. It's a small empire. It controls areas on both sides of that strait. And you know that there's sort of a twin or shared rulership, but there's a difference in sort of the culture and peoples and such between the two sides. So there is a division within Lancena itself between the eastern and the western halves. So you're unsure if this Hesiarch represents, one side or represents a collective group or what. Tyler?
Is it possible, considering that they call themselves an empire, do we perhaps have the impression that maybe East and West were separate kingdoms and were kind of brought together, thus becoming an empire?
Yeah, I actually think what they were joined in the past, and then when the fall happened, they split apart. and it's been in like the last 5 or 6 generations that they've come back together.
Gotcha.
And there's some people who are you know are very much into that, and there's some people that aren't. But that's sort of what you know. Though we have a professor who can also probably add to those things, or if you go to explore the histories of these. But let's take up with the 4 of you kind of on deck, maybe talking about what the next step is. The moon is kind of shining down. You've maybe seen lights of 1 or 2 patrol vessels out in the heart of the it's not really a river, basically the strait there, looking around, but you're concealed enough both by darkness and by skill of seamanship to keep yourselves away from them. So, Captain, my captain, when we come here, what are you saying to your compatriots?
If they've taken this young man's sister, we have to go and rescue her. I mean, it seems unconscionable to leave her there in their clutches. And I'll kind of look over toward Tasos. It also sounds as though she might have similar gifts, or at least some gifts.
Yes, magic witches burn them at the stake, that sort of thing. The more important thing is that she might also have been touched by whatever touched that boy's mind.
Yeah, I suppose so. And what do you think that is?
Something terrible, something truly, unimaginably, horribly wonderful.
All right, and well, what are you? What are you thinking, Threadless?
I would not have liked to be separated from my family. That is an injustice. So we should retrieve her.
Professor, are you on board with this? Oh. He's unusually quiet. He's having, oh, there we go.
I believe that if we are seeking the girl, then also the threat to our world is seeking the girl. And where we will find her, we may find not only the Hesiarch, but the overarching group that is pursuing magic in this world, in our world.
Then we seem to be of one mind. Now, the how. We could sail in under cover of dark, I suppose, and try to sneak our way to find her.
Absolutely.
Does the make the most sense. People are asleep, but no one sees anything. No one really pays attention at night.
All right, then. Well, and I'll look over towards the helm. Mr. Butters, turn the ship about.
Captain, we're going back?
Yes, though not all the way back to the chain. Keep us to the eastern side of the street, please.
Are we stopping at one of the low cities and taking dock there, or are we docking in Lansena itself?
Might be a good idea to at least get a lay of the land and what's going on. Wouldn't you agree? I'll look at the others. Let's port at one of the lesser cities.
So we will see you turn the ship, and Despite wind and tide and whatnot, you will take your ship back up northwards, and we'll see you settle at essentially what is a production site. One of those cities. This is where the tanners and shipwrights and things like that. This is the place where those operations take place. So it's a settlement outside the city itself, and you can dock there, and no one thinks anything of it. Though you do have a sense when you disembark here, probably well after midnight, that there is some tension. Like people are talking about what happened, because everyone saw it. The chains got snapped, and of course they wouldn't have seen that somebody did it with arrows, so they just know that the chain snapped. How do you want to proceed? Do you want to make your way up to the walls of the city and try to take an entry that way? Do you want to go over the walls? Do you want to talk with people here? Or Devi, now that this is sort of the first time we've seen you on screen as opposed to Evedro, what do we see of you here?
He definitely is quieter, maybe more thoughtful and deliberate. He's dressed more humbly and just generally appears slightly older, shows his age more than Evedro does, who's much more vain and tries to hide the gray, shall we say. I think he is quite keen. His curiosity really comes out at night, so I think he is quite keen to go ashore and just learn about this settlement. And I think I might have missed, are we back in Lonsena? You're muted.
You are just south of Lonsena. You're a maybe a mile or two walk up to the walls of eastern Lonsena.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I will. I would like to walk among the people and simply observe them.
Let's have you make a wisdom check here.
All right. How many tabs can I keep open? Let's see. So I just roll a d20 and you tell me what I did, right?
Yeah.
That's how this works.
Yeah, you need a 7 or better.
Okay. Well, I rolled a 19.
19. So people are talking about this. They're very nervous because those chains are like a really big deal. The sense you get is that that they have been up for less than a year, and that there was a big incident that occurred with that, and that around the time of the chains coming up is when the Hesiarchs started moving around. Most people here think that the Hesiarchs are just some kind of spiritual representative of the crown and the forces that are in charge. They're the ones, they're like drawn from the old order that tend to do all the spirit cults and things like that, but now have this new role in the last year. But the other thing you will get is they're talking about the two rulers. They mention that, but a couple of times they clearly allude to another figure, but they kind of shush themselves before they say a name. Like there's clearly somebody else involved, and they're actually afraid to say his name out loud. Does that seem like fair info?
Yeah, I mean, if they're afraid, I'm wondering if my good friend Tasos can identify their fears.
Tasos?
My new friend Tasos.
So yeah, do you like come get him to study these people or what?
I might wander back. If you have not disembarked, I might wander back to the ship and sort of report a little bit what I found, with emphasizing that there is palpable fear in the air, not just simply of the existing rulers and of the Hesiarchs, but of some other figure.
You said it spread throughout the town.
Everybody was chattering about the events of last night, and this figure, this person, was on their lips, but they never named a name.
It's still nighttime, right? Well,
Yeah, it's probably now 2, 3 in the morning.
good. Yes, let me go interrogate them. I'll see what they're talking about.
I'm terribly curious about this process, so I am going to observe.
Tasos heads towards the town, and instead of heading towards any like lit up or still noisy areas where people might still be awake, they're heading towards the like darkest, quietest, most sort of neighborhoody, housey type areas, and just sort of choosing a row of close houses and going from one to the next with their plasmic body liquid form, as they basically just come up to the front doors and ooze their way in to the house and wander around until they find the sleeping people, because nothing I could do would unintentionally wake them up. And then I just stare down at them to see what they're dreaming about. Just wait. See what they're dreaming about and get a little taste of their fears to see if it has anything to do with this Hesiarch or this figure that no one will talk about. And when I do, then I'll try and interrogate their dreams some more.
So here is what you'll be able to find out, sort of relevant to your interests. There is a name that comes up several times that you'll hear. They'll say it in their dreams, but they won't say it out loud. And is Abdurrahim. And it's clear that this is the person who fixed the chains, but also performed some other miracles within the city. We're able to raise up old wards and mechanisms within the city that had been lost, and was able to do that on both sides. And at first, the rulers were skeptical because Abdurrahim wasn't new to the city, was a person who had been there before, and in fact had been intimate with the kings. But once he was able to restore the chains and do these things, he has become a figure of authority and power and gets what he wants.
So as I find the first person that like I can get a clear sense of Abdurrahim, his name, and what he sort of is to these people, I'll lean down and touch that person's forehead, and we'll sort of like zoom into their dreamscape. Mm-hmm. And as Tasos appears, solidifies out of the mist of their dream, they'll also completely mute out any fear that this person has of Abdrolin. And we'll walk up to them and say, tell me, I'm new to this area, but everyone keeps talking about this great wizard, this great power to the area, Abdrolin. Tell me of when you saw them.
Never seen him. We know of him. He's not one to come out here. He was a courtier. He was an intimate of many in the noble houses, but fell out of favor and vanished and then returned. And when he returned, he had great gifts, and he's used them liberally. I know that there are those who have spoken badly of him. I know there are those who have mocked his name, those who have called him a whore. And they have not done well out of that. If you take my meaning.
What did you see that you're not supposed to talk about?
I don't know what you mean.
Abdrolin, what are you scared to say about it?
I'm not scared to say anything about him.
Isn't he wonderful? What would you say then?
He does not matter in my course. It is prudent to not speak ill of the powerful, and I have nothing to say.
Perhaps when I come to see you again, you'll have something more interesting to say.
I'm sorry, you cut out there for me, Patrick.
I'll say, perhaps when I come back and see you again, you'll have something a bit more interesting to say.
Oh, okay.
You should watch out, though. The avalanche, it is coming. It's rainy season. It's been terrible this year. Have fun with that.
Have fun with your nightmares.
He'll back out and come oozing back out of the door. Well, that was useless. All he knew was Abdrolim's name, general story of his life and where he came from in recent years, and how he's risen to power and done great works of terrifying wizardry and made anyone who talked about his whorishness disappear in the night, but he hasn't even seen him.
Lowell, I'd like to use a gift.
Okay.
I've got something called Disclose the Flaw, where I commit effort for the scene. I may wait till we actually see him, then. This lets me choose a target and know its current weakness.
So what target are you? I mean, you haven't seen him, so you don't quite know him, but what is there something else you want to analyze here?
No, I was thinking him. I missed the scene part, so I think I'll wait till we see him. So
okay.
Forget it.
Let's come back to Threadless. You said you were going to build a device, right?
That's right.
And you are going to, we talked about this, you're going to spend your influence,
Yes.
devote it to this, to make this object sort of echoing the one that you've been told about. So what does that look like? Essentially, you are using your artifice to and your influence to create an item, not from a plan, not from a blueprint, not from anything, but from a concept in your head.
Right. But not only that, from essentially the thing that from my fellows gathered around me. So it's that whole thing of going, okay, we need to be able to see this thing that is difficult to see, but all four of us have different ways of seeing. So essentially, that's what it is. And she has no great concept because she hasn't seen it, but the thing it sounds the most like to her is the telescope that Ransom has. And so for her, it makes sense to make a set of lenses, each one of them that, she will just ask her fellow Godbound to invest with their sense of how they see the world. All they have to do is look through it and shape the lens. That sort of thing.
So you have a weird, almost multi-lens kaleidoscope to see this with.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and note that you have one of your influence committed.
Okay.
It will work as long as you keep that committed.
All right. And do we have a place for those things?
Influence is marked there. How much you have free is in the white box. Your permanent is in the calculated box.
Okay, and then I guess I make a little note somewhere then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm never going to have 32 gifts, so maybe
Really?
I'll use the bottom line here.
It is a little over ambitious, the number of gift lines that this sheet has. Ransom or Devi and Tasos have headed into town, kind of getting some things. What are you going to be doing?
I think I'm going to have transformed into an owl, and I am doing a circuit. And you say we're several miles from like
a mile and a half from the walls of the city.
I think I'll fly and maybe go take a look at the walls and the distance between here and there, and kind of get just a lay of the land, scout out a bit.
Absolutely. Is there anything in particular you're looking for?
Guard positions would be the sort of thing, and as I get closer to the town or to the city itself, I got to think that this whatever this group is that's trying to collect these magic people are operating. I haven't heard any of the things that Tasos has found, so I'm probably looking for like concentrations of guards and things that might interfere with us coming up that way.
You'll note sort of two big spots that are like the more guarded and clearly the more important. Close by the great pillars where the walls of the city kind of touch on the pillars, there's clearly the palace buildings there. Those are clearly built against that. They're old structures, so you can see the guards. You can see that everything's built with kind of a heraldry with like two sides, and one side is kind of left like mere finish or blank, and the other side has the marker of the arms of this eastern side. So that's how they mark things. You assume that on the west it's kind of reversed. So that's there. The palace. There probably still some lights on. It definitely has the air of revelry to it. But the other place that you'll see is there's an area that there are workmen and things around it. Like it's clearly still under renovations, but it's been restored and rebuilt. And there's this building that looks older with domes on it, and everything is done in red, red windows and red walls and all of that, and it definitely has guards around it and other markers and things that suggest to you that this is some kind of space, maybe for the city cults, maybe for the city spirits, and likely some kind of ritual space for likely the Hesiarchs.
All right. Can I glide in and maybe get a closer look to what's going on inside?
Sure. Let's look at your words, shall we? Why don't you make a spirit save for me?
Righty. Roll a d20. I got a 1. I don't know if I'm rolling high or low.
Always want to roll high in this game.
Okay, that's not very good.
So I think there is a moment when you kind of arc towards that, and you feel the air solidify around you and start to turn to quartz around you as these wards essentially, and you've seen other birds move past, so it's clearly not because you're a bird moving past, it's clearly picked up something, and it's like it's going to try and encase you.
I would like to commit some effort to my theft word.
Okay.
So that I can overcome magical locks, traps, and barriers.
What does that look like as you evade this solidification of these warders around you?
I think there's a little bit of kind of a the sea is very my most dominant, so I think there's almost this fluid feel to the bird form, as you know, the barriers are trying to lock in on it, and I ooze through.
Yeah, you can get past them. You can tell that if there are people that man these wards, if there are sorcerers and things, they've been alerted that something very unnatural has occurred. So what do you want to do?
Well, now that I'm through, I will kind of light and look through a window to see what I see.
Everything is so rose colored. Like the windows are clearly deliberately tinted to make it very difficult to see through. But down on the ground below, you will see that there are a group of these Hesiarchs in robes that have come out, have clearly been roused, and are moving around and looking, and you see they have devices similar to that device that was described to you.
About how many of them am I seeing?
Just a half dozen.
Huh. No. So they do have means to detect even me sneaking in. Well, that's good to know. I don't think I want to probe terribly deeply all on my own, but that's good information to gain.
Yeah. I will say they move around the grounds, and they're moving, and it's like, doing that. But they clearly don't pick you up, but you're also up high. So you can tell that whatever they've got with these devices, the range is not great.
That's nice to hear. And so as I take off to head out, I would like to check on the roof itself. Are there any like skylights or entry points on the roof?
You're a lord of the word of theft. There are always entry points.
Good to hear. I will begin winging my way back towards the ship.
Okay. So we'll take up with the four of you back together, kind of sharing your information and maybe conclusions that you've drawn. Or Devi, you are the scholar.
Has the sun come up yet?
It is getting close to like or Devi probably getting a little nervous because you can see that you're not too far to daybreak.
Yeah. I think it sort of manifests as a little bit more of impatience. Um, so he's sort of demanding to hear what Ransom and Tasos have learned and what Threadless's progress is on the device.
Yes, Threadless. What have you managed to discover here?
Oh, well, take a look. And she'll hand you what looks kind of like your telescope.
I'll peer through. It works like their magic detectors.
Yes, she says with an absolute certainty, but better. And she sort of stops and says, you can focus it. Focus on me.
I will do so.
All right. You'll regret it. It's very bright because, like you, she's Godbound, not just invested in a little thing.
Oh my, yes, it does seem to work.
That's right. It's easy with us. A little bit more difficult with the kid, but still there.
Their mechanisms are, at least from what I could tell, of rather short range.
Of course they are.
I grab it away from Ransom, and I start looking around in it, and I'm duly impressed, but I don't kind of let that show too much at this stage. But I'm like, yes, this should be adequate for our needs. Nice job. And I hand it over to Tasos so they can take a look.
I don't understand. Is it supposed to do something strange? Oh, duh. Why do you look like that? It's very unsettling.
None more
Bright.
so than
Why
you.
is it so bright?
Yours isn't bright.
Huh.
Yours is super empty. Like a thing you fall into.
That's appropriate then, I suppose.
That's what I thought.
Take it below deck to go look at the boy with it.
Yeah, and when you aim it at him, there are weird glints and glitters of magic that you certainly don't see when you aim it at anyone else in the crew. You can tell it doesn't give much information beyond that there's the presence of this magic, but it does detect it.
Interesting.
It'll show up right
You're on the
behind
ship?
you. Yeah. She goes, as I learn more, we could probably get the lenses a little bit better. I didn't have much to grind them with, so they're a little not as smooth as they should be.
So are we planning on starting our own witch hunting campaign then?
Witch hunting? I thought we were going to protect them.
Oh, sure. No one said what we do with them after we hunted them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure, we'll look out for them.
What did you discover on your prowls about Evedro and Tasos?
Mostly boring nonsense. Falling, chased by wild wolves, drowning. Who lives on a coastline and can't swim? It's ridiculous. Anyways, there was one man who at least knew about this Abdrul figure that everyone is so terrified to talk about. Seems very interesting. Strange, dark magic came out of the mists of nowhere and fixed the chains and made a place for himself in the court and made a name for himself amongst the people with cruel vengeance in the nighttime.
Oh, Is he associated with these Hexarchs?
I don't know. Unfortunately, the very kind gentleman have only heard rumors and stories and never actually met Untitled or talked to him or been a close personal confidant or at least scheduled his public meetings and things like that. That would have been much more helpful.
Well, a strange person of magical powers who appears at roughly the same time they begin searching out for magically powered people. That, at least to my mind, implies some connection. I'll say the Hexarchs have a structure that they are currently working on, improving, I would say, but they have defenses up on it. Even I attracted their notice as I was glancing about, and that is unusual.
If we made our way into the city, could you lead us to this building?
With certainty. However, getting all of us in, that may be harder. I think I could get in. I could even take a few to the roof with me. We could go in from above.
What do we want in there?
I imagine that's where they're keeping their prisoners.
Oh, I think they have prisoners there.
It's a guess. I wasn't able to see. They've rose tinted their windows, which I think says a great deal about their philosophy.
That they're optimistic?
Perhaps.
All right.
I was thinking that we might learn the weakness of this organization and how we might exploit it to try and see what they're up to, yes, but also, if necessary, take them down.
Well, it's not a very... Yeah.
If we need to know a bit more about them, or at least if Drolheim is noticeably involved with them, could question the boy. He's been taken by them. Surely he's seen something of them.
But he hasn't been taken by him. They came in, looked at him, and took his sister.
He narrowly escaped, yes.
I thought he was on that ship because they'd been captured.
But maybe, yes, no, they were trying to escape.
They had been the young boy and his sister had been living further north, and because of their weirdness, they've been kind of asked to leave, and their caretaker was taking them down to another place down in the south.
And, yeah.
We're going to the French Riviera, so essentially.
He's
Someplace sunny and pleasant.
Something terrifying and unnatural and entirely delicious seeming. It seems we should at least know what that is before we go stumbling into his house.
I think Threadbare stops and goes, Threadless, stops and says, I think the Hesiarchs have been around longer than that because they've been here for the spirits. This may be just a new thing that they look for, or something that they have always had more to look for. Do you think that these are the ones that have this child?
Well, we know that there was at least one of them on the ship that attacked.
Exactly. Did that ship come here, or did it go to the bigger city?
I can't say for certain. I only know that the city nearest us has Hexarchs in one building. We could go and investigate more during the day.
Yes. That sounds lovely.
And we have no idea yet what the relationship is between, what was his name? Abdralhaim and the Hesiarchs yet.
Not quite yet, no.
May not be our enemy. I mean, he sought vengeance. I like that in a person.
I don't know.
Go on.
I was just going to ask if that was something that, with my knowledge word, I could suss out or figure out?
Let's see.
And I'm okay if it's no.
Well, let me look at what you can do with a miracle. Let's see here. Solve a problem. Yes, if you want to commit effort, and it is, I did say it is not yet daybreak, so until the you can do it now before the sun comes up, and you'll get your effort back to like know what the connection is.
Let me ask a question. I committed 2 effort in the last session.
For miracles, or were they committed for the day, or were they what
that's
kind
a
of
good question? I can't remember. They were. One was for the scene to create a hole.
Yeah.
So at least I get that one back.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think you have anything that was commit effort beyond a scene.
Right. Yes. So if I'm committing effort, I can affect a miracle to solve a problem, to understand what the relationship is between.
What do you think that looks like? Like when you invoke your word of knowledge to analyze the situation and do that, what do we see?
Oh my gosh. I mean, like ultimate arrogant intellectual guy comes out. He's like, I need time to think. And he just starts pacing the deck back and forth, back and forth.
You doing the new math on your fingers?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing sort of miraculous about it other than he just affects a sort of intellectual air about it. What do you think is intellectual?
I think you will know with certainty that the kings are the authority over the Hesiarchs. Adrahim has co-opted the kings, and in turn has co-opted the Hesiarchs, and now uses the Hesiarchs as his personal staff to get him things, in particular, these people that have these abilities.
Well, I would like to share that in the most patronizing way I possibly can.
But I need to hear it so that I can internalize it in exactly that way.
Isn't it obvious? I mean, we all have the pieces, but I am the one who put them together as only I can. Aren't you glad I came on this ship? Does no one else see it? Does no one else? Fine, let me walk through it. Abdrahim took over the kings. The kings had jurisdiction over the Hesiarchs, and now Abdrahim has jurisdiction over the Hesiarchs. And all he wants is these magical beings to serve his every whim. It's do I need to draw a picture now?
Did you draw a picture?
Cleverly done.
I'm sorry.
She very much would like a picture, clearly.
Fine. And I start, I kneel down on the deck and I start kind of scraping things out in charcoal while I imagine the rest of them are kind of ignoring me.
I don't say I take notes. I remember it like it's schematics.
It's good. That's very efficient, though. Just a couple of minor magical miracles, fix an ancient wonder of the world or whatever. And then suddenly you have not just one city, but 2 cities, a budding empire under your thumb, and an entire army of dedicated people to go find magical creatures for you. That's quite smart.
smart or whatever, we're going to go get the kids, right?
Let's do it.
All right.
Well, yes, he's presumably collected them all in one easy-to-pillage place.
I cannot figure that out as well. Please.
We might have to steal a bigger ship or make a bigger ship.
Make
Let's
the ship. We'll go steal all the tiny wizards.
let's take our first break here. Let's take 10, and then we will come back. Okay. And I think we would cut to, maybe we left that last scene darkened. I think we cut to the next scene with the sun out, the group in the streets of the busy city here of East Lancena. So let's get a sense of what this city is like. We know the city walls. We know how it abuts against that block. Sherry, what's another feature of the city as you come in that might be unusual architecturally or color or how people are dressed? Something unusual.
I think one of the things that's striking is that all of the walls are like white, maybe white stone or whitish stone, but they all have, I want to say, like mosaic designs in a particular color, and you'll see like 2 or 3 of them. It takes a while to realize that they seem to be like you could follow a line to get to a place if you know what the mosaics mean, or the color means. And so it's more like, and because the city is very much made in sort of spirals that kind of intersect with each other, essentially. So everything is rounded. There's not a lot of straight streets. There's a lot of plazas of sort of like kind of narrow, like, 20 feet at their widest, and then down to like 6 foot that like people are on, that they sell things from, or that this stuff. But it's everything's rounded, and the walls and the gates are in strange places on the walls, and it's just sort of like it's built up from a very strange pattern. Like,
Ransom, what's another thing that you notice along with these strange angles, the roundness, the spiral nature of the city?
I think that there is a very active sort of like cafe culture. You see lots of these little places where people are eating and drinking, and there seems to be a lot of like hookahs to these places. So there's this like haze of bluish smoke as people are drinking their coffee and conversing while passing around the pipe of the hookah.
They have one kind of coffee, one kind of tea, but they've got an entire board for the different flavors of honeys and things that they have in there, and the incense added to it. All this, they've got all of those things. We see the people coming. The people are coming, running back and forth, bringing out fresh coals, running back in and getting those, and people are sitting there talking. They're very much out in the open air. The climate here is very temperate, so that this seems to be where people go to make deals and decide things. Tasos, we talked about there being a split in sort of the culture or peoples between the two sides. Can you tell me something about, for the Eastern Lancenians, what is there anything you can mark out as like a cultural trait or dress or something?
I think maybe like over the course of time apart, the language has sort of diverged between the two cities, the two coasts. Where I think Western Lonsena probably has a very like similar dialect and accent to how their language was hundreds of years ago here in Eastern Lonsena. It's been heavily influenced by the like fisher and sort of peasant and lower class of society that works very much on the water. So there's a lot more like slang and sort of easing of pronunciation over time for Eastern Lonsena, where they have like a very different sound and a very different vocabulary.
Maybe even they maybe even had more contact with inland peoples or something of that. So we've got that linguistic drift over 100 some years that has created very distinct accents and turns of phrases and things like that. And because there is tension between the two sides, there's probably a certain amount of pride taken in that approach to their language.
Confrontations start out with both sides basically talking the same language and end with like two groups that sound like they're speaking very different languages because they take their accents just to a ridiculous extreme.
Professor Evedro, we've mentioned that there was a tradition of local cults and spirits and things like that around here. Previous to the Hesiarchs and so on, what do we see of that? Are there signs? Are there symbols or evidence of faith or evidence that's been taken away? What do you think we see?
I think there are creatures that live in the straits. They're not aggressive creatures, maybe like straight dolphins or that kind of thing. And they were sort of the icons of the faith, the local faith. And so if you look carefully, you can see etchings or evidence in the mosaics that Threadless saw, or even kind of signs over stores that still use those dolphin emblems.
Various classical signs and different things. You have the sense that maybe in the past, a dolphin ascendant versus downwards, there are different meanings to those, and maybe even figures of spirits and things.
Yeah, I think even the pylons outside were in the shape of enormous carved dolphins, but they were sort of plastered over and reinforced with rock to kind of hide that stuff.
I really can't quite see it unless you know what you're looking for. So you are here in the streets. It's busy. When you go through the gates, there's a brief check, but this is a mercantile city. People are coming back and forth, and no one pays any special attention to you as you go in and out here. In a more isolated city, in a city with less cosmopolitan crossroads, you might be stopped because you do look a little odd. But here you're able to move and blend in. So let's start with kind of do a once around about what you want to do, what you want to find out here. Threadless, you haven't been in a city before, have you?
Well, I thought I had, but no, I had not been.
And what is your reaction to this?
I think it's sort of like an overwhelming set of new ideas and of things that could be made, remade, made better. And a lot of people, and they're interacting with things in ways that she isn't used to. So I think she's staring, probably gawping at them.
And what is it you had hoped to do here today in this is when you arrived?
Well, I had made this telescope, and I had hoped to be the one that could find some of the children at how should we say, somewhat outside the tether of Eldroprim. Eldroprim? Yeah, Eldroprim. So that was what she had hoped to be able to do, but she's a little overwhelmed. But I'm sure she looks through her scope every once in a while.
Yes, you do. Glancing around, looking for things. Captain, you definitely notice Threadless, who has been very, very self-assured throughout your trip so far, as Sherry put it, gulping. What's your reaction to that, and what is it that you want to organize your I'm going to call them your crew, but your cohort?
Seeing Threadless looking about, it is impressive to be in such a large city, isn't it?
Is impressive the word? Yes, then it's impressive. She sort of stops. There are a lot of pieces moving right now.
Yes, and in truth, this is a rather moderately sized city. We'll be seeing far, far larger ones in our travels.
Oh. All right.
Are you bothered by it?
I don't know.
You get used to it. I often find that I also am a little overwhelmed. When you spend months on a ship with the same people, and relatively few of them at that, you get a certain amount of comfort in that tight-knit group. Coming to a city reminds me that there are so many others that have their own desires, their own things they want to do. And often it is a chaotic world.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly how it is. Except that was my life. Your ship, my island. And she sort of looks around. But I'll get used to it. Don't worry.
I have faith you will. We should, looking around at everyone, let me lead you to this temple structure where I saw the Hezarchs. As I say, tread carefully. They took notice of me when I got rather close. I think they noticed my divine presence, perhaps. Each of you.
Seems like 4 of us might be more noticeable then.
That's why I say perhaps not get very close.
We should learn how to cancel each other out.
A machine for another day.
All right.
Well, let me describe what the sort of the plaza is like when you get to that, and then I'm going to check in with Tasos and Evedro about their reactions and what they're doing. You will follow the lines, the city as they kind of move around, and it's very clearly that the spirals kind of do drive you towards this place that is the shrine, like old cultic space for the various spirit shrines and things of the city. It looks like it used to actually be more of a kind of a large building with a great arch, and you would walk down a passage that went through it. but they've kind of closed that up and made it a closed building. But they do have shrines to the various spirits and things on the outside of the building, stations that people can go to. But I think now that you're aware of it, Ransom, as you kind of approach this plaza and see people moving around, and people are buying incense to burn or boughs to offer, food offerings, those kinds of things. You can definitely feel the sort of the buzz of the wards that are up around the building, kind of gauge there maybe 50 feet, 60 feet away from the perimeter of the building. Now that you have a chance to kind of smell that in the air. You'll see that the building again is painted red, and that seems to be relatively recent thing. And you can see that there's a dolphin imagery is still present in a lot of the places there, but there's also a lot of like roses imagery that looks like it's relatively recent. And you'll point out to the others sort of where the line of that is, so they're aware of that. And you'll see some Hesiarchs, coming and going. And they do kind of, every once in a while, lift up their thing and scan the crowd, but what's going on and you can stay out of their way. Tasos, what's your reaction to all this? Is this a place you want to explore? Is there something else you want to do? What's the city like?
I mean, yes, I desperately want to get it there, but it seems like a, bad idea to walk further forward and get encased in crystal or ice or whatever. It did not sound good.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like they're going after, I'm sure any sort of magical things they can find, but children specifically.
You're not sure?
Yeah, I mean, we know of 2 children that they went after, and that's all of the cases that we know about. So 100% of the cases that we know about have been after children thus far.
Fair enough.
It's only logic.
That's called adventurer logic.
If it takes more than 30 seconds of thought, it's too complicated. I'd like to start working my way through the city, going out from here, paying attention to children, especially if there are groups of children on the street or urchins of some form or something. But I think they'll pass one group of children that are running some way and sort of head following after them. As Tasos takes the next couple steps forward, they shrink and turn into an image of one of the children that just ran by. And I think they'll spend a couple hours at least sort of working their way through the city, getting close to interacting with children in the city and trying to sniff out any that have a fear of these Hesiarchs of being taken or chased through the streets or in the night.
The thing you'll get in talking with them is, there's a general fear. The Hesiarchs are intimidating. But the thing that you'll pick up is that the children's fear is not like these are kid takers, but there's a general thing that the Hesiarchs have taken adults, old people, young people, kids away. It's not confined to children. And that there's like it is definitely a layering thing that there are people that are very clearly going missing, are being disappeared, and people don't want to talk about it because trade is great, the city's great, everything's going well. Let's that didn't happen to me. Let's just kind of ignore that.
Can I find one of these children that has like a personal or specific level of fear about the Hesiarchs, either worried about like what if they find me, or thinking about like a family member or close person that was
Yeah, I think you could probably
taken.
find someone who had like an uncle who vanished that he hasn't seen, in months, and his parents won't talk about it, and he's clearly another one of these people that got vanished.
I think I'd probably try and start asking him about the Hesiarchs, that everyone talks about them, but no one actually has ever seen them. Are they even real? They can't be real. They're just like
They're around all no, they're around all the time.
Well,
For them,
yeah,
they're very conscious and present and around.
No, but they're like church people or whatever. But I mean, coming and just disappearing people in the night and stealing off children and old people, that doesn't even make sense.
They don't do it in the night. They've come and talked to people, and then they're gone within a few days.
We'll prove it. What do you even know about this sort of thing?
What is it you want from him, Patrick?
I'm wanting like a story of like the circumstances, how it happened, and if they noticed anything weird about their uncle before the Hesiarchs came, like something that may have triggered the Hesiarchs.
I think as you kind of do this, you definitely get the sense that they are picking people who might have been a little odd, like might have been a little weird. The little things that suggest that they had just a touch of some kind of magic or something like that, and as a result of that, the people that maybe didn't necessarily fit in, and so them getting picked up is, for a lot of people, they were always a little odd. Does that seem fair?
Something like noticeable public weirdness or rumors around a person.
Yeah, though of course, for a number of the stories that you get, it's not clear that there was anything that other people noticed. Maybe they kept it hidden, or it was so small it never manifested.
Gotcha. All right.
Your sense is they've been very thorough in the town, in the city, about this. Let me come to Evedro. You've seen this building, you've seen these wards, seen the city. What is it you want to do? What is it that you want to look into?
I think it's premature to try and get into the Hesiarch temple.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had this idea that maybe there was one person who was, I think I need to go back to the other room. We are not used to being in a small space. Some people have bedtimes that are not compatible with this. Okay. That Evedro knows a professor who works at the local college here, who tried to call out the Hesiarchs. Like Tasos found out that people are generally looking the other way because things are generally good, and the only people they take are the weird people.
Yeah. So I guess what you're doing is you're going to the college, you're talking to people, and trying to find someone who maybe has a little bit of this uh, approach to things, right?
Yeah, my assumption though is that maybe they were arrested because they were raising too much of a stink about this
Sure.
stuff.
So yeah, so the you will hear when you kind of go and check around academic circles. And again, when I say academic circles, you're
I mean,
using air quotes here.
academic. Yeah, I
Yes,
mean,
this is not
yeah,
like your college.
no,
These are this is the community college of
right,
it's okay, but
right.
um uh
It's actually a very, very good school here
yeah
in Lunsena,
yes
but not up to my standards.
right
Yes.
uh and you will talk around and kind of ask about the Hesiarchs and things like that. Eventually you'll hear that yeah there was a professor, basically a person who uh, had kind of kept the records and roles of the ways and means of worship, and had like that's what they did is they were building a history of faith and such within Lancena, comparing the two sides and so on. And when this new stuff started up, he was very bothered. And then when people started to get disappeared, the real change to the uh, uh, workings there, uh, he became loud. He went to the court to protest, and then not long after that, he got vanished himself. He's a big enough figure that they know that he is in prison. They know that he's alive, but he is definitely kept away from books and from giving speeches.
Right.
His name is Tintefa.
I would like to go visit Tintefa in prison.
Okay, how is it that you are being? What are you doing to make your way in to to get access?
Uh, I'm the god of journeying. I just freaking walk in.
Okay, so you are opening the way.
Yes. I guess, does anyone want to come with me? Does anyone get to
Yes.
see what a prison looks like?
Anyone want
Yes,
to
I
see what
want
a
to
prison?
see what a prison is like because I have no sense of it.
That's the most exciting thing you've heard.
Yes, I bet they have locks of all sorts.
Yes. And I highlight the idea that maybe we might need your help with some of those locks.
Ooh,
Yeah, so I'll commit effort to walk into the prison.
You, as you always do, you walk in like you belong there,
Yeah.
and that's half the job. And then it's the walking past just as the guard shifts change, going in, and then this door just happens to be unlocked. And oh, look, here's the records of where the person is, and oh, let's go up here, and eventually you find yourself in what is effectively the privileged prisoner tower. This is where nobles and high-ranking people are placed.
The white collar
Uh,
crime.
where,
Yeah.
where, yeah, where they usually have people that can come and visit them and bring them food and all of those kinds of things, and where they can write their memoirs. Though then Tentefa is being denied some of that access. So when you kind of find the key just hanging there and unlock the door to his thing and walk in, he's he looks up. Who are you?
Um, Tinteva, it's Professor Evedro, formerly of the university. We corresponded several years ago when you were doing that research into local religions.
Oh, yes, yes. I remember how rude you were.
Yes, yeah, no, that's me. You got it. Um, I mean, to be fair, some of your findings are utterly ignorant and specious, but
You come here merely to berate me and double down on your foolishness?
no, I came to bust you out.
He looks at you, Threadless, as if to say,
I go, I'm the one that will do the busting.
I I brought a friend.
the next words out of my mouth do not come from a place of ingratitude. I want you to be aware of that. But may I ask why?
We are worried about the magic users, those imbued with the power of magic in this city, and we believe that you have.
There is only one mage in this city.
You're talking of. I will get his name correct at some point.
Abdralhim.
Abdralhim.
Yes, that one.
What did you do to get yourself thrown in here?
I asked where the people were going missing and why the noble office of our keepers of the faith, the Hesiarchs, why they were being put to seemingly sinister purposes.
So you ask good questions. That's why I was not completely dismissive of your findings, right? You're heading in the right directions.
Yes, now I remember these letters. Go on.
So, did you get any answers?
I do not believe those people are alive anymore. That's as much of an answer as I could draw. And I think that were I not as prominent a person as I am, that I would have been vanished as well.
I believe that means the clock is ticking. So, are you reluctant, or are you still reluctant, or can my friend do their work?
Understand that you may have to travel with us thereafter. She'll look at him.
There is a moment where you see him look around the prison walls, look at the empty, there's no books and stuff, but also looks back at Evedro and he's like, oh. Well, let's cross that particular strait when we come to it, shall we? But yes, if you could, as you say, bust me out, I would appreciate it. What is that precisely involved? How did you get in here?
These are really just you're just making me lose respect for you with these ridiculous, inane questions. None of this is important or relevant, is it?
No, you are quite correct. I will, right. I will countenance that.
Just sit tight and watch a real genius at work. Threadless.
So Threadless, you can tell that Evedro has gotten you in here, has used the opening of the way to get you in here, gain entry. But that doesn't mean you can get out or that you aren't going to be spotted by the guards here soon.
Yes. And so I think that we should step inside the cell. I will just do the little grab hold of the the door and give it a little jigger until the lock comes undone. And I'll take the lock out because that's kind of clever.
Okay.
And put it in my bag. But I'll close that behind me.
Pop it in your bag.
And then I think she'll climb up on this guy's bed and like look out the window that's kind of high so she can see where the street is from here.
Yeah, about 40, 50 feet down below.
Yeah. She'll go, okay, I'm going to have to start by taking out this section of your wall.
He goes, well, by all means, with a certain dubiousness about your ability to do that.
Yes, exactly. And then I will do that. So essentially, I think that she probably will take like his pillow just to quiet her hammers a little bit. Is like the only sort of thing that she has to subtlety, but she will like hold on to the stone, kind of lean the pillow against it, give it a tap, and that stone comes out. Except she does this very quickly because she's like 1,000 people. And she will take these stones out, and then she will use what material there is, the empty bookshelf and the bed frame and all of these things to make this strange little bridge right down to the wall and on the other side, and quickly.
All right. I think this is definitely going to have to commit effort.
All right. I'm willing to do that.
And I do want to roll for this, I think.
You do? Okay.
What do you think is appropriate? Does this feel like a dexterity or an intelligence roll?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably as much as anything, I have to do it speedily and keep it all going.
So let's do
probably
dexterity.
Dexterity, right. So I have no idea. I'm like rolling a die and trying to beat 5.
D20 and trying to beat a 5.
Okay, so I'm just going to roll 1d20. I got a 4, but I assume I add something to it.
No, you do not.
Oh, unless I have an ability, right?
Unless you have a fact that you want to apply to this.
Well, I have. Oh.
You have an open relationship. Do you want to define that?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And I like that idea of the thing that before that she has done that thing where she's building the bridge and she's walking across the bridge, that a lot of times those are the sort of things that did on that little island just to get from one place to another. So there's a sort of yeah, and we'll call
this
this
a very broken island. Okay.
So yeah, it's just a thing. So you would have to get across strange bits of water and swamp and things like that. So you would just be moving these things along. So
you will see this, Evedro, the Tintefa, like his jaw drops as she's and catching the bricks and then immediately like putting them down and connecting them and building this essentially a set of steps down to the wall. This is not, one would say, particularly subtle.
Oh, but it's fun, and you guys have to keep right up there with me because
So
she's using the stairs above to build the stairs below.
So you're coming down outside the prison. Evedro, you know you're going to be spotted in the doing of this. And Tintef is kind of trying to balance on these steps going down as you do. What are you doing to keep from, say, the guards going, get them? She's using the pillow.
I think I'm out of effort unless I got something back from one of those things that I did.
So you committed for the scene for the opening away. I think that's the only thing you've committed for right now.
Then I will shine brilliantly, bright enough to blind the guards.
All right. Then I'm going to say you are going to suffer a couple of attacks here, like bow shots that are going to come up there. but for the group, your AC is going to be 3. So I'm going to make two shots to see what happens as the two of you rush down, trying to drop down into the crowd and then vanish into it. So let me. Oh my God, it's a GM. I have to roll. Hold on, let me pull up the roller. So GM is my name. Okay, so I'm going to roll 2d20, and your AC is 3. So I would have needed to roll an 18 or better to hit you. They have an attack bonus of for base soldiers 2. So and Tintefa's and as that lights go down, and you 3 will drop down to the crowd, turn the lens flare off, and scoot away with Tintefa in tow. While this is going on, while Tasos is searching out the nightmares of children throughout the streets, like some sort of a horrible nightmarish Candyman, what are you up to, Ransom?
I think I found a cafe that is near the Hexarch's temple there, and settled in and ordered a drink and perhaps be indulging in a bit of the hookah. And as I sit there, I'll kind of whistle a bit, and a sparrow will come and light there on the railing beside me. And I will ask him if he wouldn't mind terribly. Would he be willing to just fly in the door of the Hexarch's place there? Just fly in, fly about a bit. Just don't take long, and then come back.
And it will take off. It flies. These are those like huge doors. So certainly much like a Costco or things, there's a bird flies in, and it kind of vanishes into the darkness of the hall, and then it comes back a couple minutes later,
and didn't seem to cause any sort of troubles. No one paid very much attention to it, eh?
Not at all. It's just a bird.
Bird.
Mind you, it's not a god who's in the shape of a bird.
Yes.
Just a bird.
Just a bird. Oh, I'm so cheap with this effort. I have so little. I hate to think of spending it. But I think I'm going to have to. I think I'm going to have to do a miracle.
Ooh. What kind of miracle do you want to do?
I'm going to be imitating a gift of birds.
Okay.
Apex of the flock. So I am going to ask this bird, if you don't mind, I really would like for us to maybe look around inside there a bit more extensively. Don't worry, my little friend. I'll be right there with you. And we will just kind of see what's going on in there. All righty? And I will send it back in while I'm writing its senses.
Excellent. So it will fly back in. It makes its way in through the door, and it'll come into what is effectively a grand kind of arching hall that runs the length of the building, that used to have shrines in here, but they've clearly replaced those, taken them outside and so on. And there are stairs that go up the way, and there are hesiarchs around. What is it you want to do here? What is it you want to know?
First off, are they allowing, like you say, the shrines are now outside?
Yeah.
So are
they're not
normal folks
allowing,
coming in?
No.
All right. So that's a little unusual. I'm going to have the bird kind of, keeping close to the ceiling and doing, it's a sparrow, so it's small, flit to one spot to another. But I'm wanting to basically kind of catch the layout first of this ground area, and then I'm looking to see if I can going up through, see about how many people are in here. But I'd love to find where they're holding prisoners. That would be just grand if that happens to fall out.
So let's have you make a roll. I think this is a wisdom check.
All right. So let's see, wisdom check, and I'm rolling. So 8. So I need to roll above an 8.
You need to roll above an 8.
All right. Rolling away. Golly bum. I did not.
Did not. So I think that you'll kind of make up these broad steps, and you'll get up to like the higher level, and you kind of are brought short because there is a doorway. There are Hesiarchs kind of standing guard at these stairs that go up to this doorway here. But the thing is that the walls and the walls surrounding the door, and even kind of in and around the edge of the door, are covered with vines with blooms, and you'll see roses all over here. And the kind
creepy
of
plant shit.
Creepy plant shit. And the thing that gets you is that even as the bird is kind of sitting there, the vines move.
I will have him flutter back away from that. I don't want him to get injured.
He doesn't even go close. Like, he senses predator.
All right. It's all right, my little friend. I think that's you've shown me quite a good bit. And again, we'll fly back down and
I think as the bird is there, I think those doors come open, and you will see this figure step out. And it takes a step down those steps, and you will see what is very clear to you is our good and noble wizard of Lansena, Abdralhim. And you see him look around, and his eyes come and rest on the sparrow there.
The sparrow will retreat. I'm so horribly tempted to try to jump there next to him, but I didn't do that. So yes, I'll have the flee, my little friend, flee.
The bird is like absolutely like it flees away like that is the ravening maw of some beast.
And as he gets back out, and I will have him fly back over and give him a little bit of a cookie that I have there, and thank you, and have him fly away.
Excellent. Let's take 5 for a quick break, and then we'll continue on. Maybe get some other pieces into position here.
A note.
So I think maybe we'll bring people together to converse about what's gone on. Does that seem okay? I want to check in with you, Patrick, to make sure that's cool, that you didn't have a code onto it. Okay. So we take up in essentially a safe house that Tintefa has called on, former students and motorcycles. I don't know if you can hear that. Anyway, if Sherry had her thing off, you would have heard it in stereo go there. So, he's got a place that you're in. It's not particularly luxurious, but it is relatively off the beaten path. And he's still like, he hasn't said much since the whole jailbreak thing. Like, he's still processing that, because that very clearly wasn't sorcery. That was something else. So we come back. Tea is provided. There's a simple dinner of rice and a curry that's put out there, and the four of you can share your discoveries.
Excellent.
I believe I have seen our foe.
Oh,
Yes. Abdrahim, quite an impressive sorcerer. He, or at least his workings, have detected me twice now here, and I am not fond of that. I sent a little friend, a sparrow, to go into the Hexarch's headquarters. It did not raise the immediate alarms that my own presence did, which is good. And so now I have at least a decent idea of the lower floors, and when going to the higher floors, however, my little friend encountered a doorway surrounded in rose vines that were quite observant. They noticed the bird, and I have to think noticed my presence within it. As
observant vines.
well, the roses turned to look at my little sparrow friend. Now, I imagine there are certain carnivorous plants out there, but rarely are they found around doorways inside of temples. Well, I don't know. I'm supposed to go to the right temple. But then Abdurrahim came out, and I'm pretty sure had an awareness that he was being spied upon. Impressive looking figure. Quite frightening.
So a deep tie to these roses? Did you?
Beg pardon?
So he has some deep tie to these roses. They're certainly the symbol that has been taken over by the Hesiarchs.
They seem to have been of his working, yes.
All right. Did you see any other sense of power over plants?
No.
So perhaps it is a particular sort of spell.
That's very possible. I haven't, out of politeness, to ask, but what do we owe the pleasure of our new host, and where did you find him?
In prison. It was very nice. If I had known prison was that nice, I wouldn't have been so concerned.
The good news is we now have this safe house. We have a source for additional information. The bad news is that we're probably going to have to take him with us.
Well,
Is he terribly annoying?
He's not very smart.
he's right here now, sir. I'm sorry. My friends can be a little insensitive.
He says, "No, I have corresponded with Professor Evedro before. I take this to be the case."
For your
Does he
assistance.
have anything interesting that he's afraid of?
Anything interesting that he's afraid of? I think he is afraid that what status he has will crumble, and like that's because that he understands just how vulnerable that makes him. And
that's stupid. We're amazing. We're so amazing. We're more amazing than anyone he's ever met before. His status before, that's trash. Whatever is going to happen from being with us, that's the real important thing to pay attention to. I'm going to get rid of that fear of his status crumbling.
Okay. He kind of blinks and okay.
Sir, if you do need exit out, we would be more than happy to have you aboard, and we can put you off somewhere.
Well, we will come to that, but for the moment, we must concern ourselves with Abdrahim. The roses are a sign from him, as they are a thing when he returned back after his discommodation, he was able to grow roses, which people at first thought was merely a curiosity. He demonstrated that as a way to gain entry to see the kings, and filled the palace flowers with the roses throughout, and then demonstrated the other powers, his awakening of old religious and magical objects and machines in the city, the wards and so on, and his restoration of the chains.
That is a remarkable. Lo, I'm going to ask, can Godbound recognize each other?
Not necessarily. Like maybe with your face to face, like, but I think bird to face, I don't think you could sense that.
Okay. Do you, looking, do you think that he is like us? He has been touched? That doesn't seem like simple sorcery.
So what of it?
Well, I merely bring it up because it could make our mission a bit more difficult. And I'm beginning to think that this is someone we're going to have to eliminate. And I don't say that lightly. Killing is not something I'm particularly fond of.
Well, whatever it is that he can do with magic or forces, I think he can pass some of it on to his Hesiarchs.
So he has been killing people of minor magical capabilities? So he's a murderer, correct?
Yes.
Yes, at the very least, we saw him attack that ship or through proxy.
So I understand it. The others who have been rounded up do not live any longer. Is that correct?
Tintafa says that is my understanding.
What is that based upon?
That's based upon me talking to people who were willing to speak with me off the record during the times that I was looking into this. If they were alive, A, they would need to be somewhere. B, they would need guards. C, they would need to be fed. None of these things are in place.
Does he need them at certain intervals? Is he powering something with them?
I could not discern any pattern. And I looked, and he looks at Evedro when he says that.
Good job, I say.
I believe your powers of observation are up to that task, at least.
Thank you, Professor.
Professor, do you sense, based on your understanding of how cults in this area work, that merely removing him, Abhaldrim, will be sufficient, or is there something more, I guess, pervasive that we need to do throughout the city to remove him?
Now, he is very much at the heart of what has happened. It is his commands that others obey. It is his demonstrable power that brings the others into thrall. Um, the the problem is, of course, that the city cults, the imperial cults, have fallen into disarray over the last few generations, and so people did not uh, react when this change was imposed from on high. It was done by imperial edict, so people just accepted this change. Um, but I think in the same way that if this is undone, if he is taken out of the picture, then there'll be no reason why it will not revert back.
But will the vacuum cause more problems than cause just as many problems as exist today?
Oh, no, the kings will still be there. They're certainly imperial authority, and their enlightened viewpoints will be able to keep things in place. This is an aberration. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Because, well, we could kill them too. What would that do?
Well, that would destabilize the country.
So there's no other galvanizing force in the nation.
I'm not a political scientist, so I could not say such a question.
She'll turn to Evedro. What do you think, Evedro?
I think he's not any kind of scientist.
Oh,
I think I understand your desire, Threadless, to seek revenge on kings. I think the way to do that is by ensuring that the people have a voice in how they are being ruled. And right now, that cannot happen with this wizard in place.
He'll say, understand, I do know that Abdralhim needs the kings as a font of authority. That's why they may be figureheads, but he needs them to do that. And certainly he calls upon them. It cannot be seen openly that the kings are subject to his whims. I mean, people can understand it, but the public perception of that is something different.
Are there a set of oaths that those rulers are made to the kingdoms in order to be allowed to rule?
I'm certain that there are imperial oaths.
We should find those. It's important. In order to return their power back to the kings, we'll have to make them re-promise to honor those oaths.
Well, that seems to me a little cart before the horse, but there we go.
I suspect.
Says, what do you mean?
Nothing. Captain?
I suspect that if he has infused the palaces with these flowers, it is through them that he has gained control over the monarchs. It is quite likely that they are ensorcelled rather than having will to choose to let this man do his will.
Right.
We should strike at him.
Yes.
Now, the how-to. I feel certain I and perhaps one other could get in. But I will be severely depleted in my power by doing just that. Our other option might be to try to ambush him somewhere in transit.
What if
We could all get arrested and taken by the Hesiarchs?
I think that we could give him many fights, many fronts. That is why I brought up the oaths.
What if we draw him out by starting to undermine some of the wards and machines and city defenses that he brought back to life, to start to chip away at his power?
So just to be entirely clear, we're going to let the small girl die, which is fine. I just need to know what to tell the boy when I wake him back up.
Do you know where she is?
Oh, no.
Well, then you should find that out. She's almost certainly full of fear.
As I said, it would be pretty easy, I think, for me to get arrested by the Hesiarchs and taken to wherever she's being prepared for ritual training or sacrifice, or maybe feeding into a large divine machine, however it works.
I'm guessing fertilizer for roses.
So when that happens, then we can follow you. Yes?
Well, yes.
Can you cause problems from in there?
Usually.
You don't think that the Hesiarchs will be able to understand how powerful you truly are?
It depends on how they're finding people. It seems like maybe there aren't enough of them to just be questioning and interrogating every member of the city. So I'm guessing they have some sort of, I don't know, something like your telescope there, a way to see.
Yeah, they used one on the kid.
So you will be captured, hopefully to find where the prisoners are held, and we will attempt a rescue while you are causing trouble from within.
Yes, sure.
Okay, then that means that's how we will save the girl. Suppose that'll be the first attack upon this guy, right?
Hopefully the Hesiarchs just don't understand what they're seeing.
This sounds like a plan. I think we have a plan. I think that we are close to that, and I think that's where we're going to start next time.
Woo!
Sound reasonable? Okay. I wouldn't mind doing a quick stars and wishes if you all can give me a couple minutes. Tyler, let's go in the same order I started with here.
All righty. Well, okay. Stars. I really liked the city. I liked all the things we added to it. I think that's cool. I feel like we're getting more into these characters, and seeing a little more of the depth of them, and I think that was fun. I thought, Dan, it was really cool to see the differences in the phases of your character. I think that's super neat. I think that's a really cool concept. And that was nice. I thought Sherry's breakout at the prison was a ton of fun. I continue to be fascinated by Tasos in the kind of creepy, but also bringing us back to we are on mission really to find one person in particular. And we're hearing that is a time sensitive issue, since people are not even getting fed. I mean, this seems like they're hopping on them quick. So that was very good for you to bring us back into focus. And I'm starting to kind of like the system. I think the system's pretty cool. Wishes. I want to fight. I think a fight will be fun.
Oh yeah.
And I suppose on a more pointed and particular, I really want an opportunity to kind of talk with Threadless to find out where Threadless is in this vengeance. I thought there was a really cool moment of the professor giving an option of what vengeance can look like. And so I really do want to have that sort of philosophical discussion, because tearing down every king is a very ambitious goal.
Nice. Dan, stars, wishes?
I love this game so much. I really appreciated the opportunity to kind of drop in a new NPC there and give me a little bit of a punching bag, give Evedro a little bit of a punching bag, and was really happy that Sherry came along for that ride, because that whole scene just played out even far better than I thought it was going to. Yeah, I really like to paint the scene on the city. That was really engaging. I'm loving Tasos stepping into Dream World, and like I feel like we could just sort of play a whole parallel game in there in that Dream World. I just think that's really a lot of fun. I'd love to see more of that. I'm excited to see more bird action. So whatever that form that takes, I just felt like that sparrow was like an NPC that I want now to hang out with us all the time. So those are both my stars and my wishes all in one for you.
Awesome. Sherry?
So I have to agree with everything that everyone else has said. Definitely good. I love Evedro. He is, in fact, the most pompous and difficult of academics. It is so perfect. It is super enjoyable to watch. And I'm trying very hard not to be appalled, but in fact to think that, yes, that's the way that this works for Threadless. So hopefully I can keep my stride going forward on that. I liked our little chat, Tyler, between Ransom and Threadless about how cities are. That was interesting. And Patrick, you do obsession like better than any other player. You just you do that laser focus on an idea, and nothing else matters, and it's just so good. It's like, oh no. Yeah, it's where all the disaster will come from. I just love it so much. And Lil, I really do like this system. I'm glad you picked it, because I don't just like what we're doing now. I like the promise of all the future. This is a game where the words are so rich. They're like the best pick list. It's an OSR version of awesome pick lists, right? So I have all kinds of things in my head of where I can go. And so, yeah, I just, and it feels like everything feels open now, and that we can go there and make it that thing if we want to. So I'm enjoying that openness right now. And what am I wishing for? I do think that I do want to have Threadless build up an idea about what it is that, she wants vengeance on all the kings, but it doesn't mean she has to kill them. She just wants to make them, if they're going to do it for the people. Yeah, there you go. Something like that. I don't know. I haven't formed it yet. It will happen as we roll out. So, but I'm not going to drag you into every king killing. It's not my.
So it's not the King Killer Chronicle? Okay.
No, it's not. So,
Thank you. Patrick.
This has been really fun. I'm excited about this game and see where it goes. There were lots of little things about the world and the NPCs that I like, but like it all sort of falls under. I love how like fractured this world is, and I love that sense of like these two separate city states that have been apart for so long that are just now starting to interweave back together, or the like ancient magics of the past being reawakened and these chains and the city things coming back. I love the idea of like all these little broken pieces laying around that are being put together into new formations. Dan, I absolutely loved Evedro just like taking apart that scholar. Like in the moments when you got in and actually like played through or verbalized his over the top self-confidence, arrogance was just it was really good. It's very good. Let's see, wishes. I'm still sort of trying to find this character. I feel closer on like characterization, but I'm still not really there for like motivation or reasons. I'm still trying to figure that out for Tasos. And another sort of like self-directed wish, I realized partway through this session and couldn't really find a good moment to push it in there, but it's like sort of weird that I haven't talked to or had a conversation or met the boy yet. At this point, like
you
I really meant to have a.
Yeah, we just had that little bit interaction with him last time. We didn't really follow up. Okay.
Yeah, I really wanted to have a scene with him in here somewhere to like introduce him, get a name, and to dig a little bit more into like what was that shiny thing I saw in your head to try and get that story going on the table. So that's definitely a wish for next time.
Perhaps he'll only have a full sense of his memories once his sisters return back.
Otherwise, I'm loving the like weirdness, the strange magic in the world, the unnatural NPCs. Like there's some great pictures coming up in the NPCs tab, and so I love that how that vibe in the world is playing out, and I want to see more of that.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Can I just
yeah,
one thing real quick?
Sure, please.
And since we're recording, so it can still be like documented. If you don't mind terribly, I would have sent word back to the ship and had them like move out of dock and put up position off the coast.
Mr. Butters has already moved the ship into the right position for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can always find them, but it would be kind of unpleasant to go back and the Hezarks have taken our ship.
No. There'll be a consequence if you make a dreadful series of rolls. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording.